Look at the level of political discourse in the United States, you'll see that it doesn't reflect the kind of political debate that you see in an educated, optimistic, prosperous country. And it's very sad and it's very alarming. And then of course you see things like the level of indebtedness of young people, particularly people who borrow money to go to university. And it's very troubling to see what's happening to the United States now. And when you talk to young people, you know, you see it. You see a sense of cynicism and fatalism and pessimism about their own prospects and about politics and participating in the political system and so on.
Share prices continued to tumble.
Lehman Brothers was forced to declare itself
O cineasta e cientista político Charles Ferguson, que ganhou o Oscar de melhor documentário pelo filme Inside Job, publicou um livro, O Sequestro da América, onde analisa as causas do declínio do país. Ele aponta a desigualdade como o principal fator.
The top 1%, what happened to the top 1%?
The incomes and wealth of the top 1% have gone up dramatically. And that increase has been even more dramatic for the top 1/10 of 1%. That's perhaps the most striking thing about the United States, is that now for the first time since really the late 19th century, for the first time in a very long time, certainly the first time in 100 years, we now have a situation where a small number of people, maybe 20 or 30,000 people in the United States, have a substantial fraction of the total wealth that America has.
More than 20%, right?
Yes.
And growing.
Yes.
And what is happening to the 99%?
About half of the American population is kind of more or less staying in the same place. But what I find most disturbing, actually, is that a very significant fraction of the American population, you know, a quarter, a third, big fraction, a lot of people are now experiencing downward mobility and reduced opportunity. And that is beginning to cause some really serious problems. And one of them, for example, is that not, you know, most Americans don't know this and probably would be quite shocked if they were to hear it. But now Americans who do not have a high school diploma, which is still a significant number of people, Americans who do not have a high school diploma have declining life expectancy, and actually rather significantly declining life expectancy. And that's a terrible thing, you know. That the first symptoms of that decline actually started in the 1970s with the internal decline of a number of American industries and companies, the automobile industry, for example, the steel industry, the consumer electronics industry, and also with America's troubled, incomplete, difficult response to the rise of OPEC and the oil embargoes and the need to begin changing energy policy.
Congratulations, sir.
And then starting in the 1980s with the election of Ronald Reagan, the progressive deregulation of American industry and the fact that that deregulation allowed several industries to become very concentrated and very predatory and gave them increasing political power, gradually turned the United States into a place where the very wealthy do extremely well and most of the rest of the country does not.
Detroit is emblematic of the industrial decline of America, right? So the United States is one of the few countries that is literally willing to throw away its cities, right? At least large portions of many of its cities. So there are Camdens and St. Louis's and Detroits and Clevelands. Detroit's not the only one, but it's very dramatic. So you go through Detroit and you look at a city that was once 2 million people, that's now 500,000 people. That was once literally the pounding heart of American industry and is now permanently on life support.
Nada representa tão bem a ascensão e a queda vertiginosa de Detroit quanto essa estação de estrada de ferro, a Central de Michigan. Por aqui chegavam todos os dias Milhares de trabalhadores para as fábricas de automóveis. Era o orgulho da cidade, do estado e da nação. Hoje, esta ruína, que a cidade não tem dinheiro para mandar demolir. Cercada de arame farpado para impedir que os vândalos levem o pouco que restou.